From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden Neville.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ticats Today on the Ticats Audio Network for this Monday, July the 10th, 2023. The Ticats finally got win number one on the season on Saturday night. It was a close ending, maybe a little closer than I would have liked and Ticats fans would have liked, but a win is a win, and it was a fantastic effort by the team. I spoke to Coach O, Matthew Shiltz, and Simoni Lawrence following the victory, and I also recapped Saturday's game with Coach Sal, and we will get to that all very shortly. But first, some news around the team today as the Ticats have announced they've signed defensive lineman Valentin Noir. Previously, he spent time with the Edmonton Elks, but also spent the previous 3 seasons before that with the Ticats, recording 12 tackles, 11 special teams tackles, and he had 1 blocked punt. So a familiar face returning here to the Hammer. I think it's about time, though, I throw to my guest, and joining me now to break down that game on Saturday night for the Ticats' first W of the season is Coach Sal. Coach, we finally have a win to talk about. The Ticats getting that crucial first win of the season against the Redblacks. What are your initial thoughts on the Ticats' performance?
Well, I go back to what Orlando Steinauer, the head coach, said is, I don't mind winning ugly. It's a matter of winning. That's the whole premise of why you're out there. And, to me, Brayden, the offense really picked up the pace, and they showed a lot more balance in the game. Now, short yardage still needs some work. The quarterback sneak's not automatic with this team right now. And they need TDs to replace those field goals. But offensively, that was probably the best showing we've seen this year. Not probably in yardage gained, but in the way that they handled themselves on the field. And as I said, balancing up in that first drive, they had 5 runs and 5 passes, so that's great balance.
Yeah, and you see Matthew Shiltz connecting for more passes and throwing a little bit less, but it seemed as though his production was better. Do you think that run game really had a part to do with that, running the ball more and giving it to James Butler a little bit more than perhaps in that Montreal game?
Yeah, I agree. Butler touched the ball 19 times in that game for 80 yards. Now, that's run and pass receptions. But they went back to what Matthew Shiltz does well, and that's the RPO, the run-pass option, where you fake to the back and then take the quarterback to the outside, and he's able to make those throws. They didn't go downfield as much. The only explosive play in the game was actually a screen pass to McAllister, where he went 64 yards with great blocking out in front of him, 64 yards for a TD. But if you look at it, Tim White only had 1 reception in the ballgame. Now, he's your number 1 receiver. That tells me that they had a plan to spread the ball out. 7 different players touched the football in that game on receptions. So they were able to utilize a shorter game in more personnel, and I think that helped in their balance.
Now, you mentioned Tyreek McAllister. Just what did you see from him on that kick return, as well as he had 1 reception, but it was the biggest reception of the game on that receiving core?
Well, obviously he has speed, and that's why he's in the position he's in. But he's a guy that's going to be able to really help out when Woods is not able to play in a ball game. And if Woods is able to play, maybe we've got 2 guys now that we can put back. And when you think later in the year, when it starts getting windy and cold, you want 2 guys back in your punt situations to cover that whole field. So, I like what McAllister did, and I think he's going to be a real addition.
Now, one position that might not get enough praise that I feel has been excellent so far for the Ticats is the kicker, Mark Leggio. He's been great for them so far, making every field goal, I believe, since he's came to the team. Just what have you seen from him, and how crucial is it to have that kicker who can make it every time, or at least come close to making it every time?
Well, Leggio has been in the league for a long time, and he did have a good night with field goals. When you kick 5 field goals, you've had a good night. But remember, he missed 1 extra point in the game.
Yeah.
And probably the most crucial one was the one he kicked out of bounds on a kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still room for improvement. And speaking of improvement, we had 2 time count violations called against special teams on field goals. That's unacceptable. In the end of a ball game where you really need that kick, an extra 5 yards makes a heck of a lot of difference. So Legio had a good night, and he's a good addition, came out of Winnipeg as an experienced player.
And you mentioned the penalties a little bit. It seems like that is one thing that maybe didn't improve for the Ticats in that last game is the amount of penalties getting called on them. Just what have you been seeing? What is causing them to get so many penalties in these games?
Brayden, you never know as a coach why a guy would take penalties. I was watching last night's ball game with the Lions and the Alouettes, and it seemed like every kick situation, the Alouettes had a penalty flag. And those are the most devastating flags that you can get, because you could get a long return, which Worthy had a couple of those last night, but they're called back because of penalties. Penalties, to me, fall into two categories. Those that are called selfish, those that are retaliatory type penalties. And then there's those penalties which are a good penalty. An offensive lineman holding on a defensive rusher who has a free shot at the quarterback. And so you protect the quarterback by grabbing on and taking the penalty. Yeah. That's a good penalty in my situation, or my opinion. But they do have to clean that up. You're not going to go win all your ball games if you continue to get penalty flags.
Now, we talked about the offense, but I think the defense has to be talked about. They were incredible in this one. Just what did you see from that defensive group, and what was making them get so many turnovers? It seems like every time that Ottawa had the ball, the defense was able to create a turnover or create a sack or do something, some sort of spectacular big play to get the momentum going.
Yeah, I thought the defense really improved in this game. And I think that's what gave the impetus to the offense to be able to stay on the field, was the takeaway situations. You had 2 interceptions in the ball game. Edwards' interception was a great interception, but again, the offense couldn't convert to a TD. Those are one of the things that you got to get in complementary football. They had 5 sacks in the game, so I was very pleased with the kind of pressure they were able to put on the quarterback. They need to do a little better job in tackling. Some of the open field tackling left a little bit to be desired. But realistically, when your defense plays that well, and that's been the way of Hamilton for years, they controlled the Redblacks run game, for example. The 2 running backs for the Redblacks had 16 carries for 45 yards. So that's well done. But they allowed the quarterback, Crum, to come into the ball game. He ended up with 91 yards rushing and a TD, and came within 2 yards of scoring a tying touchdown. So, they weren't seemingly ready for the RPO that Crum was able to put together for the Redblacks. So, again, it goes back to that last tackle by Thurman at the goal line was a game saver for Hamilton. But they've got room for improvement too.
Now, you mentioned Crum coming in, and obviously he comes in a difficult situation. Jeremiah Masoli goes down. Just how difficult is that to see as a player on the field or as a coach, especially a guy who's been around the organization, been around Hamilton a long time in the past?
Well, you saw in the ball game when Masoli went down, not being hit, just went down, the entire stadium went quiet. And that speaks to the man's character. Everyone that I have ever come in contact with Jeremiah Masoli loves the guy. He is a genuine human being. He has a great heart. He's gone through so many different scenarios of where he's been injured and has come back. Now at 39 years old, that's going to become much more difficult for him. And my heart goes out to the guy. I love him. I think he's a great football player and a good human being.
Yeah, it was a difficult moment to see, and you never want to see anything like that. And hopefully, it's something he can come back from, whether it be on the field or elsewhere. I'm going to fast forward now. It's a quick turnaround here to this Edmonton game on Thursday. What does this team need to do in this short preparation time just to get ready for that away game and hopefully get another victory to improve to 2-3 on the season?
Well, obviously, this will be a bounce back for the team in a very short period of time with a long trip ahead of them. But mentally, they need to focus in on what they've got to do against Edmonton. The game against the Redblacks is gone. The 24 hours has lapsed. we're now looking at a situation where we have to be ready for Edmonton. And I think the physical part of it, not so much as the mental part. Physically, they need to do some rundown. They need to get the lactic acid out. They need to be physically ready to play when they go there. And they're going to meet a team that's really desperate for a win, especially at home. And their last loss was a very difficult loss for them. So it's going to be a tough ball game at a very tough place to play. But the Cats need to really bounce quickly, and the win will really elevate their feelings of good. We can do this type attitude. Go out and get that second win.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on as always. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And it's nice, like I said, to finally get to talk about a Ticats win. And hopefully there's another one here on Thursday. So once again, thanks for joining me on the show today, Coach.
Well, there's a lot more wins to come, and it's always a pleasure to be with you, Brayden.
That was Coach Sal. Always a pleasure to talk to him about the Cats. Coach O spoke to me following the game on Saturday, and he discussed getting win number 1 in the books. All right, Coach, first win of the season. How does it feel to get win number 1 here and to do it at home?
It feels great. Winning always feels great. Just proud of the effort. The game had a lot of different turns and twists, and at the end of the day, we found a way to win. So super proud of them.
And the defense seemed to be able to get turnover after turnover. What did you see from that group?
We took the ball away. That's something that had been eluding us a little bit, and tonight it didn't. We talked about something we've been addressing, something that hadn't been a challenge really here in the past or even in practice, but it's got to show up in the game, and it showed up in the game. So I really emphasize, when you don't know when your opportunity to come to make a play is going to be. So, I was really proud that when opportunities were made, whether it was a tipped one or whatever, it didn't find the turf, it found our hands. I think the defense showed up. I think we were solid up front, even on offense. And, it's like, I think we were pretty physical up there and, trying to establish things, even though it may not have shown up in 150 yards rushing or whatever. We were able to lean on them a little bit during crucial times. We'd like to close out things a little bit better, but we got the big boost from Tyreek there on the screen. I thought those were physical blocks out on the perimeter. But yeah, it was a team effort, and you can't say enough about Legio, right? The ball goes through the pipes, every time so far, and it's definitely a team effort. But to not make mention of what he contributed would definitely be an oversight.
Back to Coach O in just a second, but the big story heading into Saturday's game was the return of Jeremiah Masoli, who made his first start in exactly a year since tearing his ACL. Unfortunately, a terrible moment came from this game, and one no football fan, or anyone for that matter, wants to see. And Jeremiah Masoli went down in the first half, and we did find out that he did rupture his Achilles tendon, a terrible injury, and something you just never want to see, especially from a guy who did so much for the city of Hamilton. Coach O touched on Jeremiah going down in Saturday's game.
Yeah, I got so much love for Jeremiah and, for him and his family and just everything that he's been through and what he contributed to the organization, not just as a football player, but as a person in the community. And, you look forward to competing. And injuries are part of the game, but knowing what that was, I do think it's an accurate description that you saw kind of a little bit of air out of both sides. But that's a credit to him and just the amount of respect that he has, throughout the league and or specifically with these two teams. So, yeah, just not a great thing. I think the league's better with Jeremiah in it.
That was Coach O following the Ticats' victory over the Ottawa Redblacks. Simoni Lawrence had an incredible performance in the game Saturday, showing he is still one of the best defensive players in the league. Simoni had 4 tackles, a pick, and honestly just a great all-round performance, and he spoke about that impressive game. Simoni, it seemed like you were doing everything out there tonight. You had a crazy game. Just talk me through your night.
Honestly, first of all, I just want to thank God, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I like to thank my teammates, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody was where they were supposed to be. And when, you play that kind of team defense, it makes everything so easy, especially for me. When you trust your teammates and know where they're going to be, it gives you the opportunity to be a playmaker, and that's exactly what my teammates did. So I'm super grateful for my teammates and my coaches. They kept me super locked in this week.
And then getting that first win here of the season and doing it at home, how does that feel?
It feels amazing, you know what I mean? Especially when you got like a new team, you know what I'm saying? They need to see what winning looks like, you know what I mean? Because like Coach O, his method, it works, you know what I mean? And they need to see how it works, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like we did a great job executing tonight, and that was the point of emphasis. And I think that we did a great job, and it's all about believing. And to believe, you got to, you know, execute and win. So now that we've seen what happens when we believe, you know, it makes everything else easy.
Now a quick turnaround here. You go to Edmonton on Thursday. Does this win maybe give you a little extra boost, maybe when you won't have as much rest?
Honestly, football is a week-to-week thing. That's why I love it. Every week's a competitive week, a competitive environment. And, you know, one thing about our coaching staff, they're going to have us ready to play. It doesn't matter if we play tomorrow. They'll figure a way to get us ready to play. We got a great coaching staff, and, you know, we just got to go out there and perform. Honestly, Jeremiah is one of my favorite people in the world, you know what I mean? I trained with Jeremiah for 3 years straight when I lived out in California. He's a stand-up guy. I love his family. I just hope he's okay, you know, because, like, he loves this, you know what I mean? He loves it. He's the ultimate competitor. He's a great human being. He loves his teammates, and, you know, like, it just shows how much he loves his teammate. Who knows if he was even supposed to be out there, but, you know, Jeremiah's heart, he's in it for real.
That was Simoni Lawrence. The final guy I spoke to was QB Matthew Shiltz. Shiltz went 19 for 26 with 233 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and he also had 30 yards rushing. Shiltz was excited about the victory and doing it right here on home field. All right, Matthew, first win of the season here. You do it on home soil. How does it feel?
It feels great. It's always nice when you have a good week of practice and the guys were, you know, energized all week. We were sharp all week in practice, and then be able to come out and perform in front of the home crowd was great. So just really proud of the way, you know, everyone on the team played and the way everybody stepped up. So it was awesome.
On that big play with McAllister, just talk me through that play and getting to play with him and having him on that receiving core. Yeah,
it's been great. You know, he stepped up today in the return game too. So we were trying to get him involved a little bit on offense and just kind of see what he can do. And, you know, we got a look that we wanted out there for the little smoke screen, and we were able to make it happen. Receivers, I got to say, they blocked their tails off on that, for lack of better terms. But it's something we emphasized this week, and to see that come to fruition, you can tell how excited they were. Doesn't matter who scores, where the media is going to talk about. Like, those guys put their tails on the line to make those blocks and to free him up. He made a good move, made a play, and let his talent take over. So it was awesome to see.
A scary moment there with Jeremiah Masoli going down. Just what you can give me on seeing that happen in his debut here.
Man, it's tough. You know, I've never been a teammate of Jeremiah, but just being around the league for a little bit and talking to guys that have played with him, they have nothing but good things to say. You know, how great of a teammate he is, how great of a guy he is, and just kind of his story of, you know, bouncing back and still being resilient, you know, through no matter where he's at or what has happened to him with his injuries. He found a way to get back out there on the field and be able to play in front of his, you know, previous team's crowd. So I'm praying for him, man. My heart sank when I saw him go down there, and I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery, and I'll be praying for him.
And then now you have this quick turnaround. You play on Thursday in Edmonton. Does the win give you a little boost here to have with that short rest time? Oh, definitely. I mean, like you said, it's going to be a short week, so it's going to be critical that we get in there and take care of our body and everything. But, you know, that's just the cards that are dealt for us this week. So there's no excuses in that locker room. That's going to be the last group of guys that are going to be out there making excuses. So we're just going to put our heads down, work, grind, and let this kind of momentum carry us into next week. And they're going to be a great team, great opponent. So got to go out there and take care of business. Big thanks to Matthew Shiltz, Simoni Lawrence, Coach O, and, of course, my special guest, Coach Sal, for being on the show today. Ticats fans, remember, Grey Cup tickets are now on sale to the public, and they are selling out fast. So be sure, if you're looking to come to the Grey Cup, it's going to be a party. It's going to be one of the biggest celebrations in the city. Then you get your tickets ASAP. The Ticats are back in action Thursday when they take on the Edmonton Elks in Edmonton, and will return home next week against the Argos. That's all the time for me today. Thank you for listening to Ticats Today.